I think as a physician, I've realized that people are seeking happiness, no matter what else they may say. Also, as a physician, I've realized that when they're in that state of happiness, which is an internal state of euphoria, that actually helps accelerate the healing process. And when you're feeling euphoric inside, that's not just a good feeling. Your body makes things like oxytocin, dopamine, opiates, serotonin. All of these things are antidepressants, but they're also immunomodulators, which means they modulate the activity of the immune system. You say, why don't we take a drug that modifies serotonin? Well, drugs do one thing at a time, but when you are happy internally as a result of, say, meditation or a shift in perception, then everything happens synchronistically. It's a dance. No mechanistic way can do that. I believe that healing is a phenomenon that's very real, and that science is beginning to understand what that phenomenon is, that healing occurs when the body learns to remember how to self-regulate itself. Our bodies have learned to regulate themselves for millions of years of evolutionary time. So, you can be exposed to pneumococcus. You don't get pneumonia because your body knows how to make the appropriate antibody. You're exposed to carcinogens every day. You don't get cancer because your body knows how to take care of those mutations. As people in medicine, we've ignored this. We talk about the GI system, the immune system, the nervous system. We don't talk about the healing system. And now we're beginning to realize that the healing system gets activated when you're feeling happy, or when you have that internal state that people describe as subjective well-being. So as a physician, I've always been interested in healing. And the word healing is a very interesting word. It means to be whole, to be holy. To heal, to be healthy is all the same word. It's the return of the memory of wholeness. And when you're happy, you have that memory of who you really are. You're a consciousness that is fulfilled, that is in a state of knowingness and happiness and bliss. In India, we call it Satchitananda. And when you restore yourself to that place of being, then your body begins to heal itself. So happiness is very important for healing. I was always a discontented person. I still am. But I don't think we should confuse that with unhappiness. In the absence of discontent, there's no creative impulse. So I think discontent is divine, and unhappiness is diabolical. I've been happy and discontented all my life, and it's given me the impetus to try and not only help myself, but also help other people. And as a physician, I've always focused on healing, whether it's I'm talking about mind-body medicine or leadership or any other aspect of consciousness. The goal is still the same. Happiness as a trigger for transformation and well-being and health and healing. Well, if I think of real live people that inspire me, it's my grandchildren. I have a Tara who's is going to be 6, Leela who's just 3, and now little Krishan who's a month old. And when you look at these human beings, you don't see human beings. You see spiritual beings who are totally authentic. And among living beings, they are my greatest inspirations. Having said that, I'm also inspired by the examples of Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa, Oscar Arias, Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi. There are a lot of luminaries, even in our own times, not to mention the great historical figures that we refer to as the great sages of all time, Jesus and Buddha. I don't like the word optimism too much. I think, hope is a sign of despair. You're only hopeful when you're in despair. So transcendence means going beyond hope and despair. To look at reality as harsh as it is and as honestly as it is. So right now, we have a terrible situation. We have global warming, we have climate chaos, we have war, we have terrorism, we have social injustice, we have extreme poverty. Unless we look at that brutally and honestly, we're not going to bring about change. Because if we say optimism, hope, this, it's too wishy-washy, it's too new agey, and it doesn't work. We have to look at the facts, then we have to ask ourselves, can we change it? And the answer is yes, of course we can change it, because the world is a projection of who we are. Now we are seeking a deeper understanding of ourselves. That's why we have programs on public television, like, the wisdom of the Buddha, which would have been impossible 10, 15 years ago, which is already a sign of critical mass coming. So instead of saying I'm hopeful or optimistic, I would say I'm most realistic about the human condition, which is divine and diabolical at the same time, sacred and profane at the same time, sinner and saint at the same time. And it's up to us which direction we go. I meditate for about an hour to an hour and a half in the morning. I exercise every day in the gym for an hour to hour and a half. That's every day, 7 days a week, even when I'm traveling. And the rest of the day, I just, I call my office and speak to my assistant, Carolyn, and I ask her, tell me what to do. And she directs me, and I just show up and I do what needs to be done without being attached to the result, leaving that to the unknown. It's called karma yoga, which means I have an inner attitude that God's doing everything and I'm the instrument. So even if I'm writing a book, the attitude is God is writing the book and I'm collecting the royalties, and thank God. So, when you have that attitude, everything happens spontaneously. It happens effortlessly. There's no anxiety. So I would say my habits are relatively clean. I don't eat anything that comes out of a can or has a label, generally speaking. I meditate, I exercise, and my wife and my children make sure that I don't take myself seriously.